Town Building Committee meeting of May 1st to order. Our first order of business is OPM update.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I provided by email earlier, actually yesterday, our standard monthly report. I have an image of it up on the screen, and I've handed out copies to the committee. Again, I don't want to read it verbatim, but we provide an executive summary of the tasks and things that have occurred over the last month. And we talk about the continuing to develop the GMP budget with W.T. Rich and the effort there. And then the buyout, as we had presented to you just 2 weeks ago, pretty favorable. The first $24 million of work that is ready to be awarded yielded savings, and the remaining work also we are expecting to see some savings as well. So all good news across all the trades for buying out. And then in the monthly report, I highlighted the discussion that we had last meeting, where I did talk about some of the risks to the project, being the pair of nesting eagles being an uncertainty, and the same with the timeline with the permanent transformer as being some unknowns that are hard to pin down at this point. So I just wanted to put that into our report so that we memorialize that. Work is expected to begin with the mobilization of W.T. Rich to the site in early May. The first, few weeks of mobilization, really the month of May will be just getting the site fence up, the trailers, sort of establishing control of the perimeter and so forth.
And when are we expecting that to start up?
Work in earnest probably won't be starting until June, foundations and digging and so forth like that.
Fencing, and also we'll have construction starting prior to town meeting.
The 8th is what is on our contract amendment with W.T. Rich, the 8th of May. That's when they'll begin. So I just want to make sure that you understand sort of the expectation. We're going to put the fence up, we're going to get things going, but in earnest, digging isn't happening right away.
Right.
There's a process of getting shop drawing submittals and things like that going before. We don't want to get out in front too soon.
No.
So anyhow.
Just to add on to that, there's another lull that comes sometimes. There's a lot of movement. You see excavation, you see footings and foundations going in, but then it can appear to be stopping because we're waiting for the structure to come to site. We're waiting for the steel to come in and the wood trusses and so forth. Yep. And some people are like, what happened? There was all this movement and now there isn't much happening. And it's like, well, there is, but it's not very obvious because the shops and submittals have to get done for the steel and the structure, and then the steel has to get fabricated, right? And then as it's coming to site now, but then all of a sudden when you see the frames go up, they go up super quick. Yeah. It'll be like, what happened? There was nothing going on out there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. Right. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing sprouted up in 10 days. And it's like, what happened here? But that's the framing came to the site. So there'll be another lull even after they do the foundations.
Yep.
Brian, mobilization will include the striping for that new parking for the school?
Yeah, that temporary plan for the school, yes. Yeah.
We reminded the school to send out another update that everything's changing and park differently? Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we share that graphic so that it's clear.
I think they've already at least put it in the newsletter, but
yeah,
it didn't stand out at me. Like, I may have missed it. I tend to look at the ones from both schools because I have kids in both, but I don't think I saw a call out for that recently.
no, it's a point well taken. We'll make sure that it's put out in a couple of different ways. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thanks, Scott.
So so I'm making at least an update at town meeting on 13th. So will I have a better idea on the GMP price? What's the time frame? I know that we're talking about the 28th.
Yep.
Select board. When are we going to have a better handle on the other savings on?
So we have a presentation that Steve is going to give you. It'll give you clarity on that. All right.
That's a great response. Look at that. Look at that. All right.
Stay tuned. And then the only other thing I wanted to put in our monthly report is the MELD generator, the peak shaving generator that needs to be located, and that's a task of the committee that tonight we'll be making a presentation to you for that. So hopefully after tonight we'll have a location and we'll be off incorporating this into the design. So that's really the summary of the report. We do have a few project budget transfers that I'd like to request this month. So in the report that I give you, there's a project budget. I've highlighted some of the line items that we would like to reallocate some of the cost. When I established this budget 2 years ago, there were a lot of things we didn't know then that we now know. And so we did our best to, describe and park money in different buckets. But now that things are starting to gel and we're buying out more scopes, we would like to reallocate some of the funds. So I'll just describe in the summary here. And I think one of these I might want to not do because of what I heard from Jackie just earlier before the meeting. So I'll go through line by line. Yep. So from the A&E printing budget, it's a line item that we normally put, but in today's bidding now, everything's electronic. We still have to offer paper copies to the subcontractors bidding, but nobody did that this year, so or for this bid process. So that's great. The electronic bidding yielded a lot of savings because that used to be a pretty significant number for a project of this size. So we don't need to hold that money anymore. So we want to move that into the A&E additional services request line item, which as we get in a little further, we have some amendments to context contract that we would like to ask for approval. So by funding this line item, that's where we're going to be taking the money from rather than take it from contingency. And then similar, we had $25,000 parked in the budget originally for A&E soils and hazmat testing. We are going to keep all the soils on site, so we feel like we have this covered, and we don't need to do the testing because we're going to manage everything and not have to export. So I feel comfortable that we can move the money out of this line and again fund the A&E additional services. We do have some demo of the existing buildings, and we have our hygienist. There might be a little bit of services, but whenever that invoice comes in, I can apply that against this line anyway. So it's going to be small, whatever it is. And then we had $25,000 for exploratory testing. Again, that was something I wasn't sure what we were going to encounter. We've already done all the bulk sampling testing on the existing buildings, and we didn't do any soil testing of for hazardous materials because we're going to manage everything on site. So again, another item that I just parked the money. Now I'd like to move that into security, CCTV, access control line item budget because we did receive a proposal from Convergent. Even though we've decided that we're going to go back out and do a hard bid on this, I now know a little bit more about the scope and the price, and I know I need to put a little bit more money into that budget line item. So I'd like to reallocate the money into there. And the same with borings to profile the site. We weren't sure if we were going to hit any ledge or if there were going to be any things that were going to be found when we were going through the geotech on the project. In the end, the geotech report and the test pitting and the borings that we did were all pretty uniform and consistent, so we didn't need any of that money. So same thing, I'd like to move that $35,000 into the security budget. We did want to leave some money in there for borings because I know that I have a boring that I have to do for traffic engineering consultant for the mast arm that goes out over 114. They can't do it yet because we're still waiting on the permit for Mass DOT. It's taken a ridiculous amount of time. So I do have, that has to be completed. And then the communication tower, they have let us know too that they're going to want to do a boring for their foundation design in the location of the tower. But we can't do it right now because the eagles are in the nest and we're within the inside the 660 and 330, so I deferred that. So I'm going to leave $15,000 in there for now. And then I had regulatory permitting, we had 95,000. And again, this was something I wasn't sure whether we were going to encounter anything particular on site that would cause us, any extensive permitting. We did have the Eagle, but we were able to cover that in other part of the budget. And then the fee for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife was waived because of the municipality. So there was no cost there. And the same with Mass DOT. Some of the permitting costs weren't as extensive as I thought. So again, this is another item that I feel comfortable that we can move the money out and reallocate. And then bid advertising and hosting. I wasn't sure on a project of this scale with bid docs. They had new services that they were offering to us. I didn't know if it was going to be more expensive to host, so I did put in kind of a robust budget there. The actual cost was $750, and I've already processed the invoice, and it was out of the additional services budget in the A&E section. So small number, so I was able to free that up. Same thing, moving it into security. And then the communication tower design. This one, after a discussion with Jackie, I realized that I had overlooked an item. So we're going to not do this transfer just yet. We'll wait until another point. So I won't move the money out of the tower design line item. We will have some available funds that we can allocate towards alerting. It won't be as much as I've listed here. So we won't make that move yet. And then we had $35,000 for structural envelope peer review. We ended up hiring a commissioning agent that had envelope services, and so we didn't need to do any envelope peer review separate. That's already covered elsewhere in the budget. And then structural, we weren't required to do any third-party peer review for the structural. So the $35,000 there is available to go into security. So those are the budget transfers that I'd like to make this month with your blessing.
Sure. I'm assuming net, just doing it quickly in my head, looks like we're pretty even, right?
Everything balances out on the budget as I highlighted in yellow, so it's neutral. It's just transfers, but there's nothing's changed in the overall budget.
Okay. You want to vote for this? I'll take a motion to approve the, what do we want to call it?
Budget transfers.
Budget transfers as
Just
presented?
Confirming there, so in terms of the numbers you have that are highlighted both in the printed copy and on screen there for the construction tower, that's what it's going to end up being. Doesn't actually have the money you just said you didn't want to move is already reflected
It's
there?
in there, but I will reverse that for the one item that I said I won't do. So would you just note that in your motion if you wouldn't mind?
All right, so not including the communication tower?
Communication tower won't be moved.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that the committee authorize our OPM to adjust the budget and transfer funds as described by Brian, with the exception of the communication tower design fund.
So can I get a second? Second from Frank. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
next up.
And then just last thing, just on the overall budget. Since last month, it's just 0.2% of the budget was spent for a total of 5.2. So far, $3,867,891 has been spent to date. And that is really the summary of the monthly report for us.
Great.
Bill,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a question.
Yes.
And I know that there's probably not a logical explanation, but why is there an issue with our emergency traffic signal?
Oh, it's just Mass DOT's timeframe to respond on permits. I'm running into it myself.
Oh, no, because there was a proposal to do a substandard emergency traffic signal?
I wouldn't say substandard, so MassDOT's changed their, yeah, I hear you. As a matter of fact, we highlighted it to the chief to actually write a letter to Mass DOT, and they wouldn't support it. So we try to carry through it. I made phone calls myself. So their new policy is that they do not, if it's a signal that would either be completely green most of the time, or, like a pedestrian actuated or something to that effect, they want to use a hawk signal instead. So that's like the one that's up by,
Yeah, I know, it's for a
by-
crosswalk.
Yeah, for a crosswalk.
Yeah.
I hear you 100%. As a matter of fact.
No, and I think that should be well known. I mean, that should be well known, because that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and so we tried to push with our consultant, who was recommending against it, but we still did. I made phone calls, and I know that the chief also wrote a letter, and they basically told us no. It's their land, their road, we don't really have a say. But I agree with you 1,000%, and try to push it on my end with my contacts.
Right, well, at least, if we go on record opposing that, and there is an incident or an accident, then we go after the state.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with
There
it.
is a letter that was written to Mass DOT, yeah, with a response back.
Right, well,
Yep.
I think that should be more well-known, and maybe our legislative delegation needs to be involved, because you go to the city of Woburn, their brand-new fire headquarters has a regular signal. We go to North Andover on Route 125, there's a standard signal in front of North Andover Fire Headquarters. So that makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, no, I think, but the one in Woburn, isn't that at the roadway? Or is it
It's at Route
separate?
38.
No, what I'm saying is
38.
that the side roads there, right? That's why they're distinct difference from their perspective.
Right, but still, there's
Yeah.
an adequate signal to get the apparatus out onto that state highway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, it makes,
If we want to go and push with the delegation, I mean, that's something,
I
if you want to request it,
absolutely
we can.
think we should,
Okay.
because that's baffling to me. And I don't think there's anyone in this room that disagrees with me on this one.
Good. I'm happy
I
to
don't-
write any
Chief
letter.
Armitage, were you aware of that?
It was not.
So it involves the police as well, so maybe the police need to be on board with it. It would be nice to see someone from the police here who can, back me up on this, but,
They will be here later. They're
And
just, I know the chiefs are coming. They're with the town administrator making a presentation about town meeting. But we can certainly get that organized.
yeah. I know there's, people in this room, we've driven emergency vehicles for decades.
Yeah.
And it makes absolutely no sense. That takes away from the safety of the first responders. It takes away from the safety of the people traveling on Route 114, all around. It makes no sense to me. And I hope we do something about it.
So when the town administrator and the police, fire, whatever come in, we can reopen the same discussion again?
Yeah, I mean, so we ended up pushing them already. So we sent the letter in, we asked our consultant actually not to move forward with the Hawk signal initially, because obviously, I actually feel the same way, so, that's why I was pushing it as well. So, after it wouldn't happen, the decision was made to move forward with the Hawk, because they told us that they're not gonna approve a regular signal. But if that's something that we want to continue to push, I see no problem with that. I mean, we're going to probably have a cost to it, though. Just keep that in mind, because we'll have to do a different signal, but.
Well, right, and I think that would be acceptable, because if the community knows about this,
Yep.
the first responders know about this.
Yep.
Yeah, if there's a cost, then
I mean, one of the points I made is that we have 400 feet down the road at Richardson's, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, that one's always green, and it's a PED signals, but,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep, I believe, I don't disagree with you, Frank, at all, so.
Thank you.
Frank, I think, with the chair's permission, I think it's worth bringing back up when both of the chiefs and Justin get here, because then we can get their support on that as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
Be good.
I think it would be important.
Great.
Thank you, Jackie.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
All right, we're going EV charging stations now, Brian?
Yep,
All right.
we're ready.
Let's move on that.
I'm going to turn that over to Alex to give you an update from the last.
Sure. Good evening. I had a chance to speak with a city official over in Portland, Oregon, which is where OP Connect is out of. And they have several hundred chargers that they've had OP Connect install and manage for them. And he told me that the main charger that they use is the N-phase charger, and it's mostly for fleet charging their city vehicles. And it is an incredibly hardy system. The actual hardware does not fail or has not failed on them at all. And the software, when it has failed, it is almost always fixed with just a straight reboot.
How many, you said, how long have they been installed? Did you say that?
They have had theirs for, I think they started over a decade ago.
Okay.
So he swore by the Enphase particularly, and he said that the charging system that they use, the money system in the background, works just fine, and there's almost no involvement in a day-to-day or kind of weekly capacity for anybody to have to go in there and fiddle with it or touch it up. They just kind of set the numbers and deal with it. And another interesting part is that the piece of information that I was able to get from him was that the town employees do get charged because there was no equity in getting them free electricity or free fuel for their vehicles when gas-powered vehicles don't get that same benefit for the city. So if you do have people from the town that are charging for the work, they do charge at cost for what they pay for electricity. So it's obviously a lot less expensive than, well, it's $4 a gallon now for what we were getting. So there's a benefit in that. And also, the people from Amp Up and LeGrand have extended an invitation to do a lunch and learn for the town, and they're happy to come out to Middleton to show what their product is like. If anybody is interested, I'd be happy to set a time up for them to do that presentation.
So it's the Legrand unit, and the other company is the software that goes with it?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then we did talk to ChargePoint, the property manager where our office is. They use ChargePoint across all their buildings.
They do. And they find the similar issues or lack of issues with the machines. They haven't had any of them fail. They have them all throughout their properties. And it seems like it's a reliable system. The ones that, I guess, have been reported to have the most problems are the ones that are unattended in areas that are just like off in the woods alone that get smacked around. So,
Those woods.
yeah, so this, you have a police station right there. It's a little bit tougher to get away with shenanigans.
Yeah.
One would think.
Their comment to us was that the software was really easy. You basically set it, forget it, and you get a check once a month. So I think what we're finding is they're all sort of equally good.
Okay.
And I don't know if anyone else in the committee has done, I think, Frank, you might have
Franklin
talked to
took a look at
somebody.
one, yep.
Yeah, I just sent Bill a photo. ChargePoint is what they have at North Shore Community College in Danvers.
Yeah.
But that is good to know. Out in Portland, Oregon, I'm surmising that the weather conditions are somewhat similar between here and there, and how they're handling the winters, and so that would seem appropriate.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had nothing but good stuff to say about OP Connect as well.
So we had discussion last time, if I recall, right? One was a little bit more durable based on, is that right?
The Enphase.
Yeah, right.
The Enphase is, it's kind of like a truck of chargers.
Yeah, and it's the cheapest one out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I put up on the screen the operating costs. Enphase is less. The other ChargePoint model, I forget now what the IC3 is versus the CT4000.
Yeah, I think the IC3 is the least sturdy. It's a little bit more, I would say a lesser model.
Almost residential versus commercial.
Correct.
Yeah. The CT4000 is definitely the most robust, the one that you see almost everywhere.
Robust from ChargePoint or of all four?
Robust for ChargePoint, yeah, of the two. Yeah, that's why it's more expensive.
Yep.
Because it's more commonly used in commercial applications.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you talk to folks who do the EV chargers and they're doing the chargebacks, do they get into the administration of how like, do they have to have consistent financial transactions with the original vendor, or is it something that they set up, kind of like the way that Salem or another town sets up like a parking app? Like, how, is that
It is with the-
burden on the town, or is it on the vendor and then they just cut a check?
The vendor cuts the check.
Okay, thank you. Scissor stack, sorry.
So, yeah, all the credit card transactions are done by third party. That's
Okay.
what you're asking, yeah.
And then they just cut the town a check like once a quarter or once a,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
All right. So,
So, I mean, at this point, you know, we'd like to get the application in for the grant, because it is a first come, first serve. Once the money is gone,
Yep.
then
Yeah,
you're out.
sure.
And it's about a 3-month process to get the initial approval. Once you're given that approval, you've locked in the money.
Yep.
And then we would go ahead and then start the ordering process.
okay.
And there was one other piece of information from the gentleman in Portland. He said that in terms of the monthly expenses that are paid, he would try and get grants whenever they were available for that. So if they had money available from outside, they would fish for those grants. Occasionally there are different federal grants or city grants that come along that help with those expenses. The Mass EVIP does not cover getting those. So if you do have the funds available, say from the building right now, it'd be better to get the 5-year prepaid program for both the charge and the warranties for the systems, if the money's available, as opposed to trying to do a month-to-month afterwards, unless you're able to find different funds. So they, as often as they can, they get additional money where they can. Otherwise, it's just a monthly operating expense that they,
So there's a potential for that operating expense to go down, and if they get grants, is that what I'm hearing?
if there are grants available.
They're just gonna dumb it down for for me being the dummy here.
Yeah.
So. All right, so do we have a recommendation last time, folks? Where were we? I can't remember personally.
I think we did. We were looking for more information last month.
We were looking for more, but weren't we, I thought we zeroed in on one that was kind of the preferred, and did we not?
I don't think we got that far.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if
we
we
really
didn't
didn't get too far. I think the committee wanted to know more about what other towns are doing and what they're using. How easy, you know, one versus the other, and what we found is they were all fairly comparable.
Okay.
So for the Enphase and the charge point, the CT4000, the operating system would be the same.
Okay.
So it'd be run by OP Connect.
All right.
So it's just different hardware.
So is that the recommendation, to go with one of those? At this point, was that your folks' recommendation?
Enphase, I mean, what was your personal sort of feeling after
My
talking
personal
to all these
feeling
people?
is that the Enphase it's a strong piece of hardware. It's just something that can get whacked around from what I heard.
Okay.
The charge point is perfectly reliable, works great, and I don't think either of them break down. So once the software is there, it's fine.
And so LeGrand's the cheapest, but we're thinking charge point's the way to go, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so in terms of the we have $50,000 grant for each building, so everything is no cost except for the one charge point at Town Hall would be $1,341 to the town. So that's really the pure cost to the town. So it's not really too much of a factor. They're almost free. It's
Has
just
the
that you-
design changed? Because, right, we had, 6 chargers that were going to be in the secure area behind public safety?
Well, we're going to be talking about revisions to that area, and while we're at it, we'll take care of that. Yeah.
Okay.
They're showing them outside now.
Yeah.
Public.
I think we have to make
that
one
helps.
at each
So they get covered
location
by the grants.
handicap, and they have to be public. Yeah, so we'll cover that in the redesign.
Okay. Okay.
Brian, you bring up the operating cost again? Monthly? Yearly, yeah, that's it.
This
yeah.
is yearly, yeah.
So the charge point, not, the cost of it is not really consequential since the grants, but the charge point is almost double the operating cost.
Yep.
For the 4,000, yeah, compared to
And
the,
this is not something you can use the Mass EVIP grant for. There might be other grants that may become available, but at the moment, there aren't any. We looked at a lot of different ones. There's, I-95 is a traffic corridor. There's a 1 mile zone on either side of that. If you fall within that, there's a grant available. We were outside of that. There was another one that we found for rural, which apparently across the street from the site is considered rural, but your site is not.
Across the street, yeah.
So we've
that
looked
seems-
at a lot of
that
different
seems-
programs, so at the moment, there isn't anything avavel that would cover this.
If
That may
Richardson
change.
Cow makes its way across the street of rural enough?
Yeah, that's what we got, we need a cow.
Not as much as they used to.
Right, okay. So, I mean, I think we probably want to go with the cheaper operating costs, I'm assuming, right?
In phase.
Administration?
Phase,
Shocker,
yeah.
all right, so we're looking at either ChargePoint or M-Phase. Do you like ChargePoint, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think the N phase is a more robust unit, the HCS 40.
Okay.
The IC3, I'm not sure that we would recommend it. It's not as, just from what we can tell, it seems to be more of a less commercial application, more of a residential.
All right, so that narrows us down to one.
That's a pretty good narrowing down.
I think we did a good job doing that, all right, so let's, I'm happy to take a motion, folks.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead with the Enphase HCS 40.
Okay.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Kyle, all in favor, folks?
Aye.
Aye, all right, that moves.
Thank you. Thank you for the research.
All right, moving on to construction material testing vendor, request to award.
Okay, you have in front of you a 11 by 17 handout. Looks like what I have up on the screen. We received 4 bids for construction material testing. FINA Inc., John Turner Consulting, UTS of Massachusetts, and Aardvark. So we put side-by-side comparison their rates. Some are up, some are down, so it's not easy to pick somebody based on just looking at the pure rates for the different categories. So if you were to move to the last page, we have a couple of metrics that we are looking at for them. So I'll go notes to the non-price proposal, the very last boxes. So FINA, they're based out of Natick. They have tons of municipal work. They're all over the state. They do a lot of public construction. You know, they check all the boxes. They seem to have a very good amount of staff. Our office has not worked with them, but I have seen them around. Chris, I don't know if you've worked with FINA?
I've not.
Yeah, so we had a clerk that worked in our office, and he had worked with FINA before, and he highly recommended them. So, you know, I think they're fine. I don't see any reason why we would not want them. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I have all these up here. FINA and UTS of Massachusetts are the two typical that we see.
Yeah.
More recently, FINA, I think I've done on my 3 current projects. And I've worked with UTS for the past 16, 17 years.
Yeah, UTS is somebody that we've been working with for 20-some-odd years.
Same here, so. yeah.
So Aardvark's new. They seem to be getting into the market, into the public market. At the moment, they don't have any public projects that they've worked on in Massachusetts. They have one under construction in New Hampshire, and they have a new project that they're just about to begin. They haven't done any work on in Rhode Island. So I'd just say Aardvark probably wouldn't make the recommendation just based on their experience, and they have to subcontract out steel inspections. They don't have that capability. Their primary work that they do is testing for paving. That's their primary. I would tell you that UTS, I think, Chris, you probably have extensive experience with them. Sounds like,
Turner and UTS are the two on this list that we've done.
yeah.
You've seen a lot, but UTS is most commonly selected.
So I think the 3, FINA, John Turner, and UTS are good. So they would be the 3. So the next way we looked at it is we simulated a project across all the companies, and we just took 40 concrete cylinders, 8 rebar inspections, and we just sort of ran it across everybody to see what a simulated project would be. And you can see John Turner Consulting is pretty expensive compared to UTS and FINA. So I think just based on price, I would rule out John Turner. And even FINA is a little bit higher than UTS, but it's not too significant. So it's really up to you. For my recommendation, it'd be either FINA or UTS. Our office uses UTS pretty extensively.
Yeah.
And just, I would say, UTS is located out of Stoneham. They're only 10 miles away, so in terms of responsive time to the project, they're going to be able to service the project quite well. And the owner of the company contacted me and said that before the price proposals were submitted, on a project that we did with them 3 years ago, he held his pricing from that project, so they were the same rates. He said that he really, really, really wanted this project, and he was being aggressive on his proposal, and also promised to service the job very well.
I mean, it seems like everyone's used UTS and then a low, so it seems like a no-brainer to me, folks, unless you have some comments? You got one, Cal? Go
I
ahead.
was just going to ask, in terms of responsiveness and things like that, so we're not paying mileage for whoever's coming out here, and we're not getting any particular discounts, and we're not getting charged any more for their responsiveness, right? So we're just assuming, there's nothing contractual that says that no penalties to the vendor if they are not responsive, so.
Mileage is based into the unit rates, so we asked in their price proposals to include that.
Okay.
A lot of times, the responsiveness question is really about how fast they come out when the contractor, Steve's guy in the trailer will call and say, I need a concrete pole right like tomorrow morning, and who will get there tomorrow morning versus chase the guy down and.
Okay, sold.
Yeah, all right. We want to do a motion?
I move that we proceed with UTS of Massachusetts for our construction inspection material testing.
I'll take a second.
Got it.
Second from Paul. Let's, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where's Moranchog?
I just Googled it. It's near Worcester,
Worcester?
Is it?
Oh,
between Worcester
I
and
think it's
Sutton.
Sutton, Mass.
Yeah,
right?
it's like between Worcester and Sutton.
It's like a village of
Yeah.
Sutton, Mass.
Oh, I like have
I know, look it
been.
up.
I've been over here doing that for a minute.
Like,
It's like that's a town I've never heard of.
there's another one.
It's funny. All right, moving on to audio-visual vendor, request to award.
Wouldn't mind just take one, pass it along. Alex is going to present on the EV stations.
It's also in the EV under bid leveling
It's
comparison.
AV.
AV.
Wrong.
EV, yeah.
EV.
Try to skip ahead.
I know, right? Keep the meeting moving. Here we go.
Visual, F9,
Thank you. And
bid received, up top.
what am I not seeing? Bid leveling, the comparison?
Yep.
Okay.
So we received 2 bids for the AV proposal. One was from Oakers and the other is from Valley Communications Systems. And they both met the scope. And I spent some time going over what systems they were implementing and how they were putting it together. And they were both very similar. I don't think they left anything out. And I also spent some time calling their references, and neither of these companies had one bad word spoken about them. They have repeat customers. They use them all the time. They love all the services that they provide. And they are both using very similar kind of monitors, very similar kind of projectors. And I think the only difference right now is just in the prices that they're charging.
One's a lot more.
One's a lot more, and I can honestly say that there isn't much difference in what they are offering for that more.
So this is a lump sum bid, hard bid.
Yep.
We published it publicly in newspapers, combis, Central Register, the whole thing. So this is a competitive bid here. Valley is the preferred vendor of the town, just so you're all aware, they've been doing a lot of work for the town. So they were somewhat incentivized to be aggressive in their pricing because they really wanted to continue that relationship. Valley has, they no longer have one, it's either audio or visual, I can't remember which, no longer is available on the state purchasing contract program. Somehow they got dropped out of that this round. So that means the only way you would get Valley is if they would, give you a sealed bid, a lump sum,
And be the low.
competitive,
Yeah.
and they were low. So I think the process worked well.
Okey-dokes. All right, I'm happy to take a motion, folks.
So moved.
So I'll take a motion to
recommend.
Yeah, recommend AV be contracted with Valley. Paul moves, all right. Second?
Second.
Get a second?
Frank is second? Yes. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thanks.
All right,
And,
solar
yeah,
panels.
kudos to Alex. That was a tremendous effort. He did an outstanding job, so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Excellent. We just summed up probably, a month's worth of work in
Like
2
4
minutes.
minutes.
Should we hem and haw a little bit more just to?
Would it make you feel better if we can hem it out? We can. and-
Could ask more questions.
but we do have a pretty,
Some of us are just very
long schedule.
pleased.
Yeah, both companies are excellent. I would definitely say that.
Awesome.
I think you got two very solid bids.
All right, so Brian, you're on to solar panels?
Yeah, I just put that in there just to have a discussion when we were in the design phase of the project early on, and we were doing the life cycle cost analysis with, Thornton Tomasetti, I think is the company that Context hired.
No, it was KFC.
KFC, thank you.
KFC?
AKF? Or? AKF. Sorry, I really messed you up there. AKF, anyhow.
Chicken.
We had talked about the possibility of doing solar and the analysis of the energy consumption in the building and so forth. But at the time, we were seeing that the cost of the construction and schematic design was going to be in excess of the budget. So it just sort of went away. We said, you know what, we'll make the building solar ready, we'll revisit it later. So I had made contact with a woman who is an expert in solar and works with municipalities. She was well-versed in it, so I arranged for a call for her to talk with us, just to get smart about it. And we had Mike from Meld was on the call and just, sort of peppered her with a lot of different questions and so forth. The long story short is that Meld already has as many solar arrays as they want to own through a PPA. They're really not interested in doing any more. And the energy that's sold to the town is sold to them at such a low rate that even if you were to pay for solar and had great grants and whatnot, the payback to the town is so far beyond the lifespan of these buildings that it just doesn't even make any sense.
That seems pretty easy.
So solar, really, I think it was pretty clear to us after an hour-long conversation that wasn't really a viable option for this project because of a lot of circumstances. However, in that conversation, there was some discussion about there's money available with the Inflation Reduction Act for battery storage, which is new. That was never available until recently. That was intriguing to Mike at Mel as a possibility, that's something that they might be interested in. And there's
We asked about this, I believe, during the solar discussion. At least I did, because we're doing one in Wakefield. I asked about it.
so there's about a 30 to 40% rebate available through the Inflation Reduction Act for battery storage. So it's something that Mike's going to look into. It sounded interesting, something he needs to look into more. So that's it. That's as much as I have to tell you, is that we sort of ran it through. Solar doesn't make sense, but maybe there's something else. We'll continue to explore it. And maybe it's something we do in conjunction with the peak generator, the 2.5 megawatt peak generator. Maybe that's something that gets coupled with that project as something else. Okay. So anyhow, that's all I wanted to give you for an update.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to context. Amendment number 9 for septic system redesign.
Oh, yes. So we have, so I guess I can
Are
jump in.
you
here.
handling that too, Brian? You guys want to tag
Yeah,
team?
well, so, Bill, you probably know about it too. So
I know
this
a little
was
bit about
already
it, yeah.
approved verbally, and we're off and running, but I just wanted to bring it to the committee so the committee was aware. So I don't know, Bill, if you were part of the conversation, do you want to take this one?
You can take it, either way. So, I mean, basically, we have two designs. Our design engineer looked at the flows coming out of the town hall and community center building a little bit differently than our health director did. So they had to make a modification to the design. Actually increases the size of the system significantly and ends up being what's called a pressure dosing design because of the amount of flow that is now being assumed to be coming out of the building. So these are all assumptions based on, worst case scenario, peaking factors of, 5 and above, which, realistically we'll never actually see. But that's what was asked for by the health director, and that's what we need to do. So that is something that we need to look at as a redesign.
The fee is something we kind of worked on with the team, with the Context and their consultants. So this, I think, is a pretty fair fee based on the services that we're getting for it.
I agree.
We heavily negotiated this, so I think the town's getting a good price. And Justin has already given us the blessing to move forward, but we just wanted to let the committee know. Okay?
Sounds good. Amendment 11, irrigation well, town green irrigation design and electrical to the town green.
Yep, I got it right here. Chris, if you would take this one.
Sure. So there are two parts to this. One is related to running power out to the gazebo, also including following the loop that goes from the main drive into the site alongside where all the bollards are, the electric bollards. And you may or may not remember, but during the time when we were very, very concerned about budget, we decided to just put a electrical work box at that edge of the common.
Yep.
And then we'd run the power later if we had funds to do that. Now that the budget is more in line with what we feel, we can then increase the scope a bit. We're now running a power line from the drive all the way to the gazebo, following the same path, so you can power the light bollards if decisions made to include those in the scope. So that price came in at roughly $4,600, which includes the TDD electrical work to size the line and terminate the line at the gazebo, as well as the civil engineering fee to design the trench for that to the gazebo.
Really document it in an ASI so we can
Yes,
make it
yeah.
part of the scope.
Yeah.
So $3,600?
Yep. The second part of amendment number 11 is actually converting the existing well on the site to an irrigation well, and that has a much larger number, larger engineering fee. Right, and Brian and I had a discussion prior to the meeting starting that we can back out a chunk of that because it involved testing the existing well, which would be done by a town testing company.
Well, we have Skillings that we're already working with.
I was gonna ask you that question.
They're local to Middleton. I'm sure we'll get favorable pricing from them. They've been very fair, fantastic to work with, so I asked Chris to back that out.
So backing that out means we're down to roughly a little over $40,000 for the civil engineering scope, which is actually identifying, we don't really have a survey of where that well is, we just have a plan that the town had that we put onto the survey, so just verifying where it is, locating it, opening it so it can be tested, and then designing a pump system in a concrete vault to then put the pump into, because it's actually located right below the roadway.
Okay. That seems like an astronomically high number to me for that.
I don't have
scope of work.
I don't have the breakdown for that yet, Bill. I have requested it. It will be coming in. The second part of this fee is the electrical feed from, most likely from the town hall, community center building, out to the vault, empowering the pump. And that's a fee of $2,100. So,
So I like both of those, the first and the third.
first and third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would, personally, I think I would want to see more information on why it's.
Right.
This is hot off the presses, so we just got this at about 5 o'clock
$54,000 is
today.
awfully,
Right.
awfully large number for
Yeah.
that. That's how it worked to me.
So, as I said, we've requested the full backup for this. The first number came in last evening, and then 3 other numbers came in during the course of the day. Final shakeup was one I brought tonight, but we've reduced it now by 20% with removing the testing.
Okay, so it's even 20% higher than that. Is that what I'm hearing? Wow. I got to start getting into the well business. That's crazy. All right.
So we can, we're going to be back in front of you within a month, so we can go and get more information on this and talk to them about the scope. Okay. How about approving the gazebo electric and town green electric scope?
Happy to take a motion on that, folks.
I'll make a motion to approve the electric to the gazebo and the light bollards.
Sounds good.
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes unanimously.
I'll break that in 11,
Yeah.
we broke it up.
At least that way we can get that into the ASI package that you're going to be working on. Okay, good. Thank you. And then the one I had up here, what is this? Oh, the MELD, but we should probably talk about this later. We have another proposal for the design work, but it related to the generator. But we should talk about the location of it first before we go there. So we'll save this.
Okay, the next item on my list is the conform documents. These are the documents that include all of the addenda that was issued during the bidding period, and we had actually rolled in some of the descoping coordination work, which, Steve, I haven't talked to you, but I got an email from Tom, he wants to maybe not include that in the conform set.
I'll talk to you on the side just to clarify what he's getting at.
Okay, so anyway, we've incorporated most of the addenda in the documents, all in the drawings. We're working on getting them into the specifications, and if we don't end up having to put the ASI work, the work that came out of the scoping in those documents, we're looking, I think, towards the end of next week to complete that set of documents.
So that was the end of next week?
Yeah, if we don't include the ASI.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, those were corrections or other things that came up in the bid process that are now kind of getting folded back into the original?
Some of them are further detailing of items that were questioned. Some of them were answers to bidders' RFIs.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's all that stuff that came in.
It's nice when you begin a construction project that everything that was in the bid process gets rolled into one clean set of drawings, so we're not having to reference multiple documents. But during the bid phases, some drawings were, information was edited or added to sheets and reissued as an addendum. Now, everything gets folded into one set.
Okay.
So it makes it a lot easier to administer the project.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Septic redesign, as Brian and Bill had talked about, the septic system changing. That was done. There was a recalculation of the use and flow within the building, and through that process, it was decided that there are a couple of different categories within each building. For instance, detention has a different flow than office, so that was pulled out and recalculated. And in the Town Hall Community Center, the office has a different flow than the multipurpose rooms. That was pulled out and recalculated. And then there's some exterior, there's some rooms which only served exterior equipment that would not be habitable, just, buildings and grounds, houses, snow blowers and shovels and salt and sand, and garages. So all that stuff was pulled out because that does not have a flow associated with it. So the new flow and square footage numbers have been sent over to Board of Health, but from what I understand, Tracy's on vacation all week. So she will get that Monday morning along with a memo from Bowler, because we feel with that information and all of the work that they've done, we should be able to proceed and get approval of the revised design.
Cool.
We're looking for next week to get
Right, and they did the updated testing and everything to support
Yes.
that, right? Okay.
done all that and incorporate that into the design.
Terrific. All right. All right, looks like we're moving on to bond. Final GMP discussion. Are we there? I don't think we're there yet, right?
So put together a little PowerPoint just to summarize everything. Just want to start off by saying, my apologies on the miscommunication on my part. That's my fault. And I apologize for not delivering on to you tonight, so no one else to blame but me.
Oh, well, I'll back that up by saying I presented to this committee and to the select board that we thought we'd be coming to you tonight with the final GMP. It became clear that we needed more time to make sure, we didn't want to rush it. There's no point in rushing it. We've already gotten the necessary approvals to be able to advance the project, all the early trades, we have those awards. Tom and I wanted to make sure that we had time, we want to give it to you, and you have time in advance of our next meeting to be able to look at it, so we're not doing this too quickly. There's no reason for us to rush through it. So we wanted to be a little bit more deliberate, so I actually asked, together we realized that it made sense to do that, so.
We're both wrong.
I just didn't, together we didn't sort of communicate it clearly. I had a different expectation, but in the end, it made sense, so that's why we're doing that tonight. So tonight, we're going to give you an update rather than present the GMP to you, but we'll tell you what's been done since we were here last 2 weeks ago, so you can see that. So I've asked Steve to make this presentation.
So just kind of a quick overview of what I'm going to go through, so you kind of know when topics will come up. You can kind of hold your questions at that time, or I'm glad to stop, in the middle to explain anything. But the first slide up will be the GMP recap. That's where we're at for the history of it, and then where I'm at today with it, so you can see the overall big picture of what's going on. Followed by the award status, so that's kind of what took place, where you authorized me to proceed, what I've done since that time frame, and then kind of what I have left going forward from a contract trade standpoint. And then finally, the schedule over the next couple of weeks of what you can expect on deliverables from us, so you know what you'll have and when you'll have it. So moving on to the GMP recap. So just on the left-hand side, pre-construction costs of $124,910. I did have an extra zero in there. My apologies on that typo. The first amendment that was issued to us was for $39,088,652, and this was that RTA, the request to award that we presented last meeting. That was based on the trade bids and priority non-trade bids. That was based on a draft GMP without pre-construction costs of $58,801,101. And that little asterisk is just to represent that that didn't include the pre-con costs, which you'll see on the right in a minute as I explain it, that we now have that pre-con cost rolled in, just because it makes it a part of the full amendment value. Moving forward to the updated GMP from where I'm at right now, it is a reduction of approximately $36,000 from where I was last time. That came from further revisions of D-scopes, more information our way, more ways I can qualify and give you the most efficient, accurate price I can. On the right-hand side is the same format that you saw before, with the one change of the pre-con cost at the top that I've added that back in. To go down to the bottom for how I got to those numbers, the total contract amount, which would include pre-con if we were to sign this up today, would be $58,890,000 round numbers. The next line down, I subtracted out the 124 to give you the apples to apples comparison from where we were last time to where we are now. That is the $58,765,000 round numbers. Any questions on that before I move forward?
We can't see it, so, I mean, unless I
You highlighted something. What important thing got highlighted that we can't read from that?
The two general conditions costs and general requirements, those are just highlighted to say that they're within the cost of work of the overall summary of that 38 million. We don't have a separate line on the cover page for them, that's all.
Okay.
But to walk up and point to it, oh, there you go.
There we go.
So just to run back down from the top, the $124,000 at the top is the pre-con costs. The 38 million is the cost of work items that were in addition to the pre-con cost from last time. 39,094 was the adjusted amendment value based on where those things fell. If you keep scrolling down,
I'll just say that 39,094
088.
is, we have the amendment to contract, which was executed by John Rich. We have 3 copies that are, been delivered to Jackie for execution by the town. The select board, when we were there to see them 2 weeks ago, they did approve it. So the paperwork and the contract is just about done. Thank you.
If you keep scrolling down, Brian.
Can I? There we go.
Yeah. So just to pause right there for a second, cost of work remaining to basically put in an RTA if we were to move forward, 15,700,000 round numbers. One of the conversation items that we picked up on last time was breaking out the alternate number 2 for the permeable paver parking lot. So I did update that here. So our alternate 1, which is the one that we talked about being accepted, 274,000 is the approximate cost right now. Those are the parking lot canopies. We did accept those with the trade contractors, which are, the contracts are out, and almost all of them are out on the street right now. The notice of awards are out. And I did put those into the priority non-trade, so those are all locked up. The ones that we held on were alternates 2 and 3. Those are the ones that we're going to extend until September 1, I think is what we said last time.
Yep.
And then I broke out alternate 2 to an A and a B. A being the town hall, the first one, the 161,000. B being the public safety, 130,000. I do need to do a few more vetting with those numbers because my landscape best and final numbers came in. So I need to dial those in a little bit, but that's the breakout format that you'll see it in. Does that work for people and what their expectation was?
Yes, that's what we were looking for. Yep.
The gazebo is the third one. Same thing, that rests with the landscape subcontractor, so I'll dial that one in. It's all part of that best and final, so you see the full package. Rolling down to the next 2, general conditions, which is basically the staffing side of things, and general requirements, which is like the supporting of those staffing that are on site, if you will, like trailers and things like that. All that note is saying is those 2 line items are within my cost of work, which are part of the 39 million and part of the 15 million above. We didn't put it down below. That's all. The next 3 items, insurance and bonds, those are basically your protection for the project. And then the GMP fee, which is our fee associated with that, which is the fixed percentage. That was a part of our proposal, followed by the GMP contingency, which is the same thing. It's the percentage we agreed to at time of proposal. And those are just manual calculations based off of the overall GMP amount. Can you scroll down just a little bit further for me? And then finally, we arrive at the line item that says total amount of this amendment is simply a math formula that says what you gave me before subtracted from what is the current value is what the remaining is. So I'll double check that number on the final amendment value. But hopping to the line below, total contract amount would be all the cost of work items, everything above, including the pre-con services. That's that number. And then what I was reporting on you for the apples to apples comparison is the next line item down. I took out the pre-con cost, 58,765,000.
There was some discussion, the last meeting with regards to either moving the gazebo or building the gazebo. Are those numbers factored in there, or?
The gazebo is, we have a price, but we're not executing on the scope.
Right.
So we're holding the price, but we're not going to do anything until we confirm whether that's going to come or not.
Okay.
But there's some evaluation work that has to be done on that gazebo before we go any further. But we have time to figure that out.
Good.
So this sets, so the $600,000 saving we're seeing from your 90%, right? Is that now, didn't we have a discrepancy between the 90% estimates? of like $1 million or something. Is that, am I remembering this
We
incorrectly?
did.
We did, right?
Back several months ago, WTR was, yeah, like saying,
Between our estimator
Yeah.
and theirs, right?
Yeah.
So this is their number, so the savings kind of hit in the middle, is that, even though it's a deduction from the 90% control budget, am I?
We went
You know what I'm trying to say?
we went to special town meeting with a round number
Mm-hmm.
for construction of 60 million, which is sort of in between the two estimates.
Yep.
And that's the target that we were using. The only reason the control budget is below 60 million is that I asked, when we were doing the scopes of work, the security scope was moved into the owner's budget versus the construction budget. So I asked them to back those numbers out of their estimate.
Sure.
And that's why the number's lower than 60 million. So that's
That's what I was trying to not,
Yeah.
that's where I was.
Right.
How do you get to the control numbers, what you're asking?
That's what, yeah, what are we using for
So
control?
when we went to the town, we had, we sort of backed ourselves into a number. Because this committee knew that they didn't want to ask for more than a certain amount, and we said we need a little bit more, there was a little gap there, so we just said, we'll just sort of level it out at 60. And we adjusted the contingencies and some of the numbers to make it all work, so that the ask to the town was just under the 10 million that you asked for.
And so adding in the other savings that we had, right? So we're looking at the 660, that's what was in your update, right? Is that,
Yeah.
696.
well, we have 660 in your update, so is this?
And Brian's update.
In Brian's update, yeah, Brian's
sorry, my
update. So you had the 660 in here of overall savings for the buyout work, right? 660,000 in savings to the project estimate. I'm just trying to make sure I understand all these numbers.
Yes, but Steve's number is also 36
Mine's
lower
updated.
from.
So
Yeah,
I think I know what
660 was RTA 1 and 2.
Yep,
What he's saying is on the additional work that he's buying out, he's realized some additional savings. which is
Additional, right.
gotten the number to the 696.
yep, okay.
There's still work to go.
So we saved another 30,000 from your estimate, basically.
Correct.
Yeah, that wasn't, I want to make sure that we're not, it's not.
It's actually part of
It's not
the-
1.2.
No, it's not,
No.
it's not, you're not doubling it.
as part of the,
16, I was at 660,000 savings. 5-1, I'm at $696,000 savings.
Just want to make sure I understood.
Yeah.
it's part of the end game of, we thought we were coming in tonight with the rest of it, but he's still buying out some of these last few trades. And the idea is that you're realizing, hopefully, incremental savings. You get what Steve is referring to as best and final number. He's grinding the last few trades to get some more money out of them. So with the passage of time, hopefully, the end game is you try to improve the numbers, even though we're good where we are, try to make them better.
Like this morning, we had 3 D-scope calls with truss, the framer.
The truss, yeah, the roof package, basically, which is what's going to put the
That's a
cap
big
on the
one.
building.
And they have some time to get their best and finals after the D-scope, so we're waiting on that. So, yeah, there's still a lot of work being done. And it's to the town's benefit. The more time we can put into this and really work the numbers, we should see some more savings.
Understood? Beautiful.
Okay?
Great. Well, thank you. Any questions, folks? You guys got anything? Okay.
We just have a few more quick items here in his update.
Fire away.
Just on the trade bid status, 14 total packages, 12 contracts out the door, which is about 23.36 million. That's part of the awards that you approved last time. The 2 that haven't been awarded, painting and glass and glazing. Glass and glazing are coming back to me as a non-trade, we call them, and I will put that back on the street. Painting, I think we're through the rough water, if you will, and we'll probably go ahead and send that award. I just need to connect with PCA 360 and context on them. And then on further down, I won't read every name, but those are the people who were distributed, the contracts to. Non-trade side, 27 total packages, about 27 million. The 5 big packages are out the door, which is 12.4 of the 27 million. I'm sitting on 3 that should go out the end of the week, and I should be done with them, which is probably another 4.5 to 5 million of the 27, putting me around the 17 million range. So 10 million to go and 20 packages to go on it. And those are the big ones for the package above those names.
I'll say this too, we're happy with the subcontractors that we're getting. you know? I mean, in the end, W.T. Rich manages the process, but it's the individual companies, the trades that actually build this, right? And we've got a lot of really top-of-the-game companies here, you know, and I'm sure, Bill, you see these guys in Wakefield. You got a lot of good companies there. We're real happy with Site and Civil as Dorenzo, you know, and you can look at the list there, Wayne Griffin on electric, Cheviot on the ACT, just all through the list. These are good, top-of-the-game contractors. So we're happy with that.
Just kind of going on the rest of the schedule for the GMP. So we'll get our final draft to Context and PCA 360 on the 6th, which is Monday. We ask for comments back a week later, which is approximately the 13th. We'll turn our revisions around within a day or two, the 15th, back to Context and PCA 360, and then planning for a distribution to the committee the 16th or 17th prior to that vote. So we want you to have a chance to look at it, make sure you understand it all, and then coming to the 22nd, that vote to move it forward.
That's still tentative. We haven't locked in that meeting yet. That's a discussion for the committee to have. We need to schedule that with you.
My apologies.
No worries. I didn't
Fair
let you
point.
know that, but I'm letting them know.
So potentially push it forward on the 22nd, and then on to the select board meeting on the 28th.
Yeah, so the select board's meeting on the next Tuesday, I think it's the 7th, and then their next meeting is the 28th. So the goal is, with this schedule, is to be at their, the following meeting for select board.
Sounds good. Questions, folks?
Any other questions?
Is that Wednesday?
Seeing a lot of no shaking.
But yeah,
All right.
Thank you.
We're going to go to building permit status. We already talked about Project Start. Mobilization update. You want to give us that?
Yeah, I went ahead and released everybody to go. We actually have a call with Dorenzo on Thursday to confirm site fence delivery, what day that will be, and when he'll be mobilizing his iron.
Okay.
I do want to reiterate what Brian was mentioning earlier. There's a lot of paperwork we need to get out of the way. I do appreciate, and I'm trying to work with you to make sure that you have a presence on site for that meeting, so that we can work with you on that. So if you can just give me until Thursday to confirm the actual date showing up,
Great.
I will communicate through this team, and then come up to you.
Beautiful. Building permit status?
We're waiting on the septic design, and Tracy's out this week, so we won't know until Monday.
Is that the last item?
The last item for the building permit.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Good news. All right. For project sign review and approval.
Well, we don't have anything drafted yet. I guess we should have described that as input from the committee of what they would like to see for a project sign, anything in particular.
What sign's this? This
So
is
the sign that says, coming soon, and the building coming. Do we want to list the building committee members? Do you want to list the feasibility study committee members and the current building committee members? Do you want to, some of those questions, 2 signs, 1 sign, pretty images?
We thought
I always like pretty images.
Yeah.
So.
thought last week we'd have one with images and one with names. And they'd be ready for the ground.
Yeah, I'd say images showing the buildings would probably be great.
Yeah.
Right? You guys agree with that, I'm assuming?
Where's the sign gonna be?
On the fence, I'm guessing. right?
on the outside.
Yeah,
How large a sign?
4 by 8,
Use your glasses.
4 feet by 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, driving by on 114 at that speed, you're not going to read
You're not
it.
gonna see it.
You don't speed, right? You drive nice and slow. We'll see. You'll see.
On the sidewalk, just on the sidewalk.
You'll be all traffic
The
lights
walkers
this
will
town.
read it, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll put something together and, get back to you on it.
Okey-dokes. Sounds good. Town updates.
Actually, on 114, now they can read it because they're stopped there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Paul, you didn't tell us you were gonna do stand-up tonight. You gotta warn us. Come on.
We'll be here all week, try the veal. All right, town updates.
You can't leave, right?
Yeah, what's that?
Can't get out, right?
That's right. Town updates,
So we-
groundbreaking ceremony.
Sure, yeah. So we've been discussing the groundbreaking ceremony, trying to establish a date that would be appropriate for that. Looking at the calendar, it's a veritable minefield this time of year. So June 14th seems like an appropriate date, it's Friday, with a rain date of Monday, the 17th. Jackie's been putting together a save the date, and we just wanted some input from this group. Jackie, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Sure. So, looking for feedback from the committee. So that date has a lot of availability for all of our project team, as well as Justin and I did check with Andy Sheehan to welcome him back. I think he'll be pleased to come back and see the progress. We've started to get staff availability on that day as well, because we'd like our team to be present as much as possible. That's why we're doing it kind of towards the end of business on a Friday. School is also out that earlier that week, so we won't be contending with the traffic from the parent queuing. It's also a good day where we may see some of our legislative delegation or our federal delegation who's been helping us with the Eagle permitting as well as some grants. So we kind of have a sense of what we'd like to see the day look like from colleagues that have done this a lot more than us, but also traditionally how we've done ceremonies in Middleton. If folks have like strong input, I'm open to it. If anyone wants to help with the ceremony, I'm open to that as well. If
We have a
you-
time for Bill to make a speech, right?
12:30
Bill's
is
not
the
gonna be
start
there,
time.
it doesn't look like, so. I'm actually
okay.
I'm on the Cape, so
Bill.
I'm at a conference, I'm sorry.
Oh, a conference. You're not even going on vacation.
No,
Come
still
on.
working.
No,
Yeah.
it's a business trip to the Cape.
It is a business trip to the
Yeah.
Cape, it actually is, yeah. We get so much work done, you'd be surprised, but, yeah. I mean, give me a week and let me see. Maybe I
Okay.
can, we haven't paid for it yet, so maybe I can decide not to.
Skip the day.
Maybe it's a 2-dayer, but, yeah.
Oh, that's less helpful. Yeah, I think the goal is trying to coordinate a lot of our team to be available. And ideally, if we move forward, we'll coordinate with Paul at Cable Access, who's already watching this. But that's the idea. But would love any feedback if folks have it about the ceremony in particular. And I have a save the date available on my computer for those that would like to see it, and if you want to provide input. And Chris, I would love your visual input at some point, because I think you're going to cringe at my spacing, and I would just rather have you input now than before, when you see it and you're like, Jackie.
Send me a draft.
I will.
Flag Day isn't any kind of town.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Just making sure.
We are planning to have flags on the site and also honor a Flag Day.
Making sure.
But again, the goal to have all of you, all of our project team, as much as possible, as much of the staff as we can. I know public safety will be out in droves to support, and we appreciate that. But other than that, we're going to be serving refreshments as well. Photographer, get that lined up. I've planned a lot of ceremonies, so if you guys have things you want, this is your opportunity, or you can see me after.
As I say, we don't need it right now, but give it some thought and reach out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a big day in the history of this community, so we should do it right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And thank you to our team at WT Rich Justice. We got your email of groundbreaking options.
Shovels.
Yeah, shovels.
Silver
Things to
shovels,
break
huh?
ground with,
Wow.
so fantastic. But that's.
We need to get those ordered, so you have to pick one. You were given options.
We
We'll
asked a
pick one
follow-up
tomorrow.
question.
Yeah, we asked the cost, but it seems like it's a moot point, so we'll pick.
Yep.
We'll
Okay.
take it very seriously tomorrow.
Thanks. All right.
All right, Bell generator.
Mind just hitting input?
All right.
While it's queuing up, I don't mind speaking to it a little bit. So where we all left off on the last meeting, with location closer to the Brigadoon neighborhood, just, frankly, politically, was a bit of a non-starter. And I think realistically, rather than have the team spend the money showing a rendering in that area, I had requested that they try to, put their heads together, their creative folk, and try to find some other alternative in a way that will minimize the presence of that building rather than waste the money on an area that just, it's not going to fly. And so at one point, we'd been talking about putting it behind the public safety facility, pushing it across the parking lot, and kind of trying to shoehorn it in with a pocket wetland and a spray of trees that we need to preserve for the eagle, and it just wasn't something that was realistic. Since then, they've gone back to the drawing board. We had a conversation about trying to lump it in with the mass of the public safety facility, and that if you were to look at this thing standing out in the middle of the field, yeah, it's going to look like a house with a smokestack, but if it's next to or adjacent to a much significantly taller communication tower at the back end of the public safety facility where people realistically wouldn't see it, the area where the dumpster is, the area where the diesel generator already was, trying to lump those things in together, that it might be a little more palatable for the community. And so the team did put these renderings together, and I appreciate that they did. Brian, I don't know if you want to add anything to that conversation.
No, Chris has done all the design work. He's got 3 options to present to the committee tonight for consideration.
Great. Should we start with the plans first?
Sure.
Just to locate them. There's 2 design options, putting the equipment just to the west of the public safety building. So we're looking at the very bottom of the page is the west end of the public safety where the detention area is. It's the part of the building that has the least amount of windows. However, it also does have a doorway that leads from the detention out to the exterior for the release of detainees, and it also has a doorway a little further closer to the parking, which is a door from the stairwell of the police side of the building. It's not the primary police exit and entry, but it is an exit that brings you out to the visitor lot where there are some cruisers. So what this plan is showing is the large generator adjacent to the building, allowing room for a pathway between the building and the generator. And adjacent to that generator is the cooling tanks, which is also a fairly large structure. And then in front of that is a switchgear and a transformer for the generator. And then adjacent to both of those pieces of equipment, we have the dumpster enclosure, as well as the emergency generator for the public safety building and a transformer for the public safety building. So it's all this equipment in one area. All of it is being fed underground. So the piping will be a series of sort of runs from that equipment to the building, as well as out to the main line from to the street. There's a gas service as well as power. So then this view is an aerial view looking down at the public safety building. The largest structure is the MEL generator. We're proposing the color of that to be as close as we can get it to the color of the masonry in the public safety building to make it blend in a bit more. The gray structures in front of it right now don't have color besides gray, but those are the other pieces of equipment. The generator, transformers, and the cooling tower for the MEL generator. We're also proposing, if this location is selected, to have a green trellis structure between the MEL generator and the drive to the site to somewhat mask it from your view at 5 feet above, walking view or your driving view, so that it doesn't, it's not as harsh from the street. This is a view essentially from the town green, a bit beyond where the gazebo is, looking towards the public safety building. You can see, you will see a little bit of the structure on the left-hand side. Then we have a view looking from the visitor parking lot back towards the public safety building. This is a view where you see it most clearly, although this would be a view that you would see as you, if you took a walk into the lower part of the site, you know, around the old golf course, you came back to the town green, this would be your view of the side of the building. I think there's one more view on that page. Yes, yeah. Yeah, so this, yeah, that, the view upper left-hand side is if you're standing right outside the, oops,
Oh, this one
not
here?
that one, yeah. No, I thought there's one.
These are the
Yeah,
other two.
Okay, yeah, so the lower one. That's standing outside the multi-purpose room, walking towards the driveway, and that'd be the view from the multi-purpose room. So
So for the town hall, like the multipurpose of the
Yeah,
town
the town
hall,
hall community center building.
looking back towards
Right.
public safety.
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, it will be visible from that road. Even with a green wall, it's a fairly large structure.
Just one last view.
And that's from the visitor parking lot looking back. So mostly that's for people who are parking in that lot, either going to the police or fire departments, or parking there and using the land as a walking path.
And you have another option that's similar?
Exactly. And the second option is using the same piece of land next to the public safety building, but putting the generator on the outboard side and keeping the smaller equipment on the inboard side against the public safety building. The reason we did this option is that those two entrances, the police entrance and the detainee release door, are important doors, especially the detainee release door. We wanted to make that as open and bright as possible and less cavernous, so by having the larger structure pushed away, it allowed for that to happen. We are keeping the transformers adjacent to the driveway. We had to reconfigure that drive. There's now an arc going from the entry drive to the site to the police secure parking lot to be able to move this equipment in that area. But it does push the generator out, create more of an open area against the building. But you'll see that in the renderings, the nature of this design does make the MELD generator much more dominant on the site. We are still proposing a green wall in front of it, but it's you know, it's a large unit. So that's the aerial view. This is the view from the visitor parking lot, looking back towards the building. A view from the town green. You can see that it's a little more prominent than it was in the previous game. And there should be a view from town hall. Yeah, there you go. So, I think this is a better layout from the public safety perspective as far as creating a well-lit, you know, area by those two entrances. However, the downside is it does put the larger structure further away from the building, therefore it is viewed more as an independent structure.
So you're saying it moves the largest part of this away from this
Yeah.
door and this door to create a little bit more space back
Right,
here?
right, and a brighter area for the detainee exit. So then the next option is same sort of direction that Brian had proposed in the sketch a couple weeks ago, moving the unit across the way alongside the detention pond, keeping the existing row of trees where they are, but this also requires moving the parking lot, that large visitor parking lot, a bit south to create more room for the generator. So we're proposing a green enclosure if this equipment were to be located there. Also, we're providing a landscape strip between the equipment and the parking lot, potentially using, you know, planting arborvitaes, which grow tall and fast, and it will screen the building a bit. So you can see, you know, this looks like it blends in a lot, but it's still a big unit. But green does help against the green of the landscape. This is a view from Town Green. Again, you can sort of see that the unit is tall, the smokestack is actually taller than the adjoining trees. But the arborvitae's do manage to screen a fair amount of the unit. This is at the visitor parking lot looking towards the unit.
This is the
I'm
secure.
sorry,
No,
this
you're in
is the secure parking lot, looking back towards the unit. So the side of the unit against the detention area would not have any visual screening. The screening is on the opposite side that faces the Town Hall Community Center and the drive. And this is the view from the multipurpose room, Town Hall Community Center building. I think we have a view from Town Green, too. Right there, top right.
And over the years, the arborvitae's would continue to give even better
Yes,
coverage.
yes. You know, they'll create a nice dense barrier.
Well, they also have the potential height.
Yes, yes. So we're looking for direction from the committee as to what of these three options do they feel is best for the design of the site. I mean, we've put a lot of effort into designing a nice placement for both buildings and the curved drive and the materials and the banding, and now we have this big structure.
I have a couple of questions about some of the different details and options. I mean, one is this third option here where the generator is that actually going to be allowed based on the Eagle permitting?
That's a question.
I think all the locations is a question, right?
All marked, because what, it's the
Well, we're
monopole
up
stack
against-
is a
We're up
problem?
against the public safety building, which is already in that zone.
Yep.
So option 3 may not even really be an option in terms of, we won't know until we go.
And Jackie, I think you've been working hard to try to get a response from U.S. Fish, and they haven't been very responsive.
They've been not very responsive because construction season starting, but also I did not want to go to them with every possible version it could ever be. So I think tonight it will be helpful to me. I've been working to book a meeting with them, but the more feedback I get tonight of where an option might be, the more helpful it is, because I don't want to go to them with too many options either. I want us to have some sense of plan.
Okay.
That seems to go better in our interactions with them, is when we come in with one or two options versus a menu.
Well, it's only three options, right? I mean,
Okay.
I imagine they're not
All
gonna
three
want-
options are outside of the 330. So they're-
My guess would be they don't want that one, would be my
And I would
guess.
agree.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, on the other options, I don't know if it's, bless you, also an option to incorporate trees, and that's something we had talked about a little bit, that you can't really see on the plans, and even on these renderings, it's added a little bit, but to be able to stagger in and screen over a long vantage point goes a long way.
It's a good suggestion. I mean, there's a big green area right there, so you definitely got the spot for it. right?
use this to,
Yep.
In any of these scenarios, the actual generator or the other equipment doesn't need to be fenced in or shouldn't be, Mel doesn't expect them to put some kind of 6-foot fence or 8-foot fence to,
I don't believe so.
okay. And so that won't further constrain, like options 1 and 2, where it's up near the building, where you get to walk out of the building and walk into the fence.
yeah.
For option number 2, it looks like you had angled, where you'd mentioned options 1 and 2, it has the curve now instead of being straight.
For option 1 and 2.
For option 2, it looks like the dumpster's moved
Yes.
south. Is that even going to be accessible to a truck?
Yeah, usually they line up with the drive aisle.
Actually, I think that
Those are
It's
dumpsters.
a great point. It's gonna be, yeah, it's a good point.
They won't be able to make the
It should
turn.
be aligned with the entrance, but if it wasn't, then it's been relocated. But it needs to align with the aisle of.
I learned from watching some of the zoning meetings.
Pushes it out so that the dumpsters are not lined up with the drive aisle. Option 1 is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I think the intent is we would need to find a better location for the dumps in option 2 because it's also too close to the street. The driveway.
Some Chief Sampson have questions.
Option 3 brings it away from the building from a safety point. if you have those up close, where you have releasing prisoners, where the officers going in from an ambush perspective, you give them a lot of cover there they wouldn't see. And we're not able to see the prisoners come out from outside that. So for a safety thing, option 3 would be our best.
Right, that was our concern with putting the generator, the big generator right up against the building. It's too much of a dark alley.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially people coming in and out of that.
So could you show the one that we're to push it
To
out,
get
like
all
the chief
through.
suggesting, if it's closer to the building?
The one that,
I'm sorry, the one that, if it's at the building but further away?
Option
Option
2.
Option 2.
Yeah, option 2.
this is the easiest view to look at, right?
Is there one from the green? Is it, you have the view from the green?
From the green.
Because you're trying to see like how much space there actually is if you were on the ground.
Right, but you're not gonna be able to fit your, I don't think you can fit your dumpster in, right? Like we were just saying.
Yeah, we're gonna have
That would be in, the generator would be in the way there.
Yeah, we have to find a new location for the dumpster.
So that's the further away.
Chief LaCoste, you had a question as well, I think?
Richie?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if I'm going to be truthful, I'm not really a fan of any of them. Probably option 3 would be the most favorable. And as somebody whose current office is adjacent to a generator that fires off every Tuesday at 8 a.m., I find it hard to believe that noise and/or vibration wouldn't interfere with the police side. And I just, my personal opinion, I think it's too close to the building. But that's just my opinion. And, you know, furthermore, that person or that window that's adjacent on the second floor, on the other side, they're looking out the window and they're seeing this big generator. But
Personal
Just my
first
personal
would be
opinion.
the ones that's probably worse, but yeah.
That's the report writing room, or
The room on the corner, both levels, is a stair. The next room in on the first floor is roll call. And then upstairs is a series of rooms that part of the investigation detective
Yeah,
area.
those interrogation rooms and
Right.
things like that. And where noise would be a factor.
What'd you say?
It's right in there, chief, you want to actually.
Right, so you wanna confess
You want to hear the
quickly.
people we're talking to?
Yeah, right. That would be a concern.
fast quickly before the headaches set in?
So one possible option with option 3 would be to turn the unit so it's not broadside to the view.
How would you do that?
Perpendicular 90 degrees?
Turn it 90 degrees. It would, I had drawn a sketch that I had sent you, showed it, but it definitely would take some parking away. We'd have to put it where the parking spots are in the secure area. So it would be, we would be messing with the balance of parking in the secure, but we would basically take, I think I had 3 spots that'd be taken out in the secure area.
What do we think of the?
At least in broadside, when you're going by it and you're looking at it, you're seeing the narrow end of it versus the long view of it. I mean, it's not ideal,
Yeah.
but if the consensus seems to be away from the building, now I think the option is, it's, you know, this way or this way.
So we can go to option 3, Brian, and can see the
No
land.
consensus is yet at this point.
Is it an option to flip-flop it with the communication tower, or is that too, is it not that simple?
I don't think it's that simple because of the way that things
Meaning
come off the
move the
tower
communication
into the
tower forward and put the generator towards the back?
building.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
Everything like that.
The tower would almost be at the corner of the building.
The tower would be right.
Which I guess what I'm thinking is, I don't know, people are more so expecting to see a communication tower, and so it might not be quite as off-putting. And Chief, in response to the sound thing, when Melt was in to talk about it, they did stress it would only be firing if there was a power outage or 4 to 6 times a week in the evening hours, no later than, or excuse me, a month. In the evening hours, no later than 8 or 9 p.m. or something like that. Just to give you an idea, so it wouldn't be like it would be on all day during business hours or.
I think my preference is 3, and if that wasn't feasible, then 2, and 1 I really don't like at all.
One you don't like?
The one where it's right up against the building.
Yeah.
If we're obligated, if we need it in terms of like, you know, taking all that money out of the scope of, and putting that in Meld's responsibility, and just having to, if we have to have the generator at this point, then I would say 3, and 2 where it's away from the building, but still adjacent.
What about Brian's alternative? Is that feasible with the parking? How would all the
It was,
parking
I
work?
don't think it was a sketch. It hasn't been studied.
Yeah, we
I'm
have
just saying, if
to,
that might solve both of the chief's questions, it might be a little bit less intrusive, right?
this scheme Bill, is not altering the pond.
Yeah.
Right.
Nor was the one that I drew, wouldn't either.
Yeah, he's saying that we're going
It
to parking area.
wouldn't, because it was in the park, the body of this, it
In
was
the
in the
police
park.
parking lot.
Mhm.
Can I,
No. Oh, no, Jackie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, mine's not an opinion, it's a question. Do you
Oh,
want to
no,
go
I was
first?
just gonna say, what precludes us from actually planting more trees on the other side of the structure to help?
On the other side, oh, you're saying.
On that green area.
To give it more.
Fairly narrow strip.
No, I mean,
On the Eagle side, he's saying.
I'm sorry,
The Eagles.
on the backside.
We have
This is
pond
a
there.
gravel wetland here. This is
Oh.
actually stormwater. So there's no planting here.
Oh, okay. No, I think I agree with the chiefs too. Keep it away. Because I'm the guy who put the generator at the firehouse right beside the building, so that was my fault.
And then retired.
So I know, because I was in there for years when this thing would fire off as well, but,
But the generator doesn't have to run during the day, does it?
Correct, unless there's an outage.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if
Good
there-
evening.
there's an outage, whatever version of a generator we have is gonna be.
Would be
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, like that's why it's there.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, all the generators will be exercised on a regular basis.
All right, so I guess, logically thinking here, I would say, first piece is Eagle, because that's the time driver for all of this. So if we're re-permitting and redoing stuff, that impacts our schedule completely. So I think we need answers on that first. That would be my suggestion. Maybe roll with this option that's closer, and then the other one, the option 2. So 2 and 3 would be the ones we go with. And then if they say they're fine with it, we can talk about a potential for a 4th option that isn't, the wall turning at 90 degrees, and evaluate that. So your option, Brian, that you're suggesting. That's how I would suggest we move forward. Because if it's a non-starter, and we're trying to make decisions on stuff, we're just wasting our time here, right? And I think the discussion last time, that we wanted to make sure we're staying out of it. I think I like the idea of how it's tucking in, so it's not standing out as much. I personally, I like these ideas. Because, I believe the first.
Is this 2 that you're saying you like?
I like 2 and I like 3.
Okay.
All right. I like 2 probably more, from my perspective, but, if folks want it to be 3, that doesn't bother me, but
Except I don't think you want this out here.
I don't think you can't
We
do
have to
that.
relocate the dumps to different locations.
Yeah, I don't think you're going with them there. I think you'd have to put them somewhere else.
Yeah, it's on the end of the lot or something.
Yeah, maybe at the end of the parking lot, or you're gonna do something.
Yeah, somewhere in here.
Yeah.
But now they're further away from the building, but.
But, something has to give here, right? So, that's,
I think currently, some of our dumpsters are a parking lot away from the building that they serve. That's not.
Yeah, the town hall one is quite a ways.
yeah, I think this is much less intrusive, because this is like the first thing, I think, Brian, when you were sketching them up originally, that was like the first plan that you had brought in and said, let's keep it tucked to the building.
Right here, yeah.
Right, and then we decided that that wasn't an option because of the room. Moving the parking lot out, to me, makes it more viable. It's a good suggestion. I just think there's a lot of design details here to figure out. What I would suggest, though, because last discussion we had was, with the stack being there and the size of this and the noise, is that a problem with, I know that it's the same idea, the same sound as 114, but it's closer to the birds. I don't know if it hums at a certain frequency that makes their heads explode. I have no idea. So we got to figure that there's experts that know all that stuff. So let's have them tell us if this is viable and even an option to do, and then we work it out between the two versions. Does that sound like a plan to march forward?
But I'm bringing only 2 and 3. It sounded like 1 was a non-starter for everybody.
I'm going to listen to the chiefs, and this, I wouldn't want this thing next to my office,
I'm not even worried about that.
And
I was thinking about
I
the
think
safety as well.
Safety's got-
And the safety side, to be honest with you, that's, when I saw the rendering, that was my first thought too, so, yeah. So I think that gives us marching orders to move it forward, so it's not dead in the water, and, hopefully the folks at Fish and Game, Wildlife are on board.
Okay.
And if it's not, then,
And it's not.
One other thing, just to maybe, or does it rule out options, is Meld isn't gonna have that generator there, right? That sometime later in the future, there will be a pad, and they're gonna have to crane that in.
I don't think it would be far off from when we take occupancy.
Really? Assuming like all the other issues with electrical things, like,
I
The
mean,
transformer that they're gonna need for this is
it might
going
not
to
be
be
the day we
116
occupy,
weeks still.
but
that's why I'm wondering, just because like, does that also affect any of this? Because like, yeah, we need to leave this spot blank, and there needs to be access for a crane and every trucks and everything else to actually haul this in later after we've built out everything.
yeah, like the remobilization.
I think they can
Yeah,
get in
we-
there, I'd
we've-
be comfortable. They can
I've
get
had
there.
conversations with Mike over at Meld and talking about that coordination. He's committed to making it happen in time and to make sure that it wouldn't impact anything negatively in terms of what we're doing.
I just wanted to make sure, like, as we're putting the emergency generators and everything else around there, that it's not gonna be like, oh, yes, we forgot, we boxed it all in, we can't actually go,
Yeah,
drop it
no.
in place now.
It would have to have coordination meetings with them.
So if we were to go with an option 4, the Brian's suggestion, which I actually think might be the best solution personally.
Has to be worked out, though.
Has to be worked out in the
There's-
parking
And there's
lot.
some drawbacks, because it does impact parking counts.
Right. So, but I mean, I would look to the chiefs here, so, I mean, something has to give, guys, so which one would you prefer?
They said 3 is the option that I see that could be viable for us. I don't know what the option 4 is gonna look like, but would it be on that side?
It would be on that side, be away from the building,
Taking
so.
it, pivoting it this
Yeah,
way.
and so just kind of turning it 90 and maybe tucking it into where some of that parking is that you have in the corral.
Yeah, either one of those would work, like you said, just a way, I just think. it
So
would
you
save
guys are
everything.
good, if you don't have a couple of cars that are locked up, you're good with that? That's, okay, so then let's evaluate
Oh,
that,
Something like that.
yeah.
But it definitely would impact parking.
and the tree that's there that you just drew over was one we were planting anyway?
Yeah. It's not there now.
So all of that version that Brian just drew means that all the current existing trees that are not dying
Yeah.
are gonna be able to be maintained, because that's,
What do you mean?
These, yeah.
yeah,
I think
like all the,
These are existing, this tree
all
line.
That's
the
a tough-
trees that
that's
are
tough.
healthy.
Yeah, see, I think that's probably the better version if you're pushing it off the building, because it's gonna be less of an impact from the
tree line.
town common, right? Doesn't impact those trees. You probably have that green space there where you can put a couple of larger growth trees that'll really hide it from the town common. So, from my perspective,
Put tree, a couple
you
of trees.
could put all those guys in there, yeah,
Yeah.
and in the green space in the front. I mean, you could tree this whole thing so you really don't see it,
She's gonna be working in a forest.
Yeah, it's good. So, I mean, that, I think you can screen it much, much better. Like, I really don't like the face of it with those arborvitaes in front. I think it has to be more than just arborvitaes, because that's not gonna do the trick. You need-
Sorry, what was that again?
I don't think the arborvitaes are really gonna help you too much. I mean, they're gonna get to a certain height, and then, they're not,
Arborvitae's will go 12, 15 feet.
yeah, this is 30-plus feet high.
This is 26 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
This, you can see it, it's the height, it's actually above the eave height of the gable of the two-story element.
but the green seems to maybe be a good idea, too, so.
Is that, final question there, just in terms of it being there, the whole thing would end up being inside the secure area, or the whole the fence would move
I think that, I think
That
that'd be
has
working
to
that
be
over.
worked out. I mean,
That'd be working that over.
the gate right now is on the back side of the tower. Maybe it moves forward, so it's in line, here, so that the fence, there'd be no screening probably between the end of this and the generator. We'd have it right up against. But the screening would be here in the islands, in the layering, out here.
Just to be clear about the schemes, if you're thinking that you like this, do you want to wait to get something on this? So, because you're going to take 2 to Fish and Wildlife, right? Was that the idea? You're going to pitch them 2
Ideally,
ideas?
I just need to get them to book the meeting more than anything else. That's been the challenge.
Yeah, I'm just
But-
trying to get his work sequence.
But if option 4 can be done up like this, to me, that's the most effective way of having that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I would start with the version that's probably gonna bug them the most, and then walk it back from there.
I'm with you, so I don't see a problem bringing 3.
Yeah.
Option 3 is going to bug them.
I think you go 3, and then you say 4 is probably our preferred,
If
and
we
then
pivot.
2
I think you do
is.
3 to
Yeah.
US Fish. If they say absolutely not, then you don't even bother with a 4, because then you
Okay.
say, all right, how about this 2 option that we have?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But you start with 3, And then 2 is your fallback. If 3 is okay, then you say, well, what if we were
Four's
to...
better, though. Four's gonna be better from their perspective, because it's further away from the nest, right?
Not necessarily, because
not.
the...
But it means that there's
As the
not,
arc goes.
Yeah. The arc kind of runs through this tree line.
the feet
wouldn't
is
that be
one
further
thing,
away,
but the,
right?
the lack of not taking down trees, I think, was one of the things that they emphasized the most to us.
This one doesn't take down trees either.
It's just adjacent to it. Okay.
Yeah, because this pushes the parking lot, you know, you push it this way,
Yeah.
it allows us to not be near the trees. So this was a good option for the trees and for the gravel wetland.
Would it be really challenging to have we had a tree map that we used when we did the permit submission. Can that get resent to me? Because I couldn't find it the other day in my email.
It's in the survey, sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can't Google your name in my email and find anything productive.
Wow.
There's just so much email.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
No, it's just about the volume, Brian. and
Been here too long, Brian.
Sorry, Brian. We had that conversation the other day that we can't Google each other in our email, so it is what it is.
Yep. It's
So I
okay,
think-
I own it.
Does that sound like a fair
It's how we
marching order
work.
from your perspective, Mr. Town Administrator?
Yeah, and just to reiterate, I appreciate the committee taking another look at this and helping find a compromise. It's appreciated, and of course, all the work everyone at the table here did to draw something up.
And the Chiefs.
I might have been a little strong at the last meeting, just to be clear, so. Yeah, I'm walking back a little bit on my statement, so. But let's try to find a solution that works for everybody and what everybody wants, so, right?
Okay.
Do we need to do amendments 8 and 10 now, or are we holding off, Brian?
Well,
I would hold on, if it's related to the generator, I would hold.
Just tied into this.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend moving them.
okay. Anyway, and then,
And 10,
10 was just another, this was authorized so that you could have the sketches tonight. This is the 3D study of the generator and initial sort of design work. So that, it's already been authorized by Justin, but we just wanted you to be aware.
So that's not 8 or 10, right? 8 or 10 is the actual design of this stuff, is that the idea?
no,
Yeah,
10.
this is just
Yeah, 10
what you
is the
saw
studies
tonight.
that we did tonight.
Okay, and 8, it would be designing the real.
8 is the actual design.
Yeah, all right,
And
so,
the engineering work. Well, yes, exactly.
so 10's good, and that's short money anyway. All right. Some of these are being covered by Mel for those changes, right? Beautiful. All right, let's see.
Before you take on minutes, do you want to select a meeting date?
Yeah. You were looking at the 22nd, I believe, was that the date we were shooting for?
That was Brian's recommendation. Was that okay for you? I don't have a room booked yet, but I can work on that tomorrow. If that works for the committee.
Yeah, Wednesday, the 22nd.
Yeah, that looks good for me. You guys good? Yep. Frank? All right, sounds like we have a date.
May 22.
5/22.
May
Did you just
22.
say
Oh, I thought you said 8/22. I was like, that's out in August. That's really
You're
gonna
like
work.
5.
There you go.
I'll send a calendar invite to everybody once I have a room secured.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, last item we have is minutes approval for 4/17. Do I have a motion, folks?
We don't need to do anything for number 7. The procurement.
That's
everything
recommend procurement,
We voted on everything.
we voted
so
on everything, right?
No,
I think we already
this
did
is-
that, yeah.
Yeah, this is what you handed me. I think you wanted
That's
to.
just for you. That's
Oh, that's just for me,
That's for
okay.
getting ready for Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All set.
Okay, so back to meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from April 17th, 2024, as provided by Brian.
Okay. Do I hear a
Second.
All right, second from Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have,
What's that?
speaking of strong statements,
Oh, yes.
now that I have
Oh, that's
my
right. too.
reinforcements here.
Oh, yes, yes.
I was looking to you because I made my thoughts perfectly clear to this group that emergency traffic light that's being proposed by Mass DOT makes absolutely no sense. And it's ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. So we need to do something to make it safer for you guys and safer for the people that are traveling on 114. So
So just
that's why I'm looking to you. And I looked to you earlier and I realized you weren't here, and I apologize for that because you were off doing something else.
So
Good for the town, so.
So Chief, to fill you in, we, we had pushed back on it, asked our designer to hold off on finalizing the submittal to Mass DOT. Chief Lacoste wrote a letter saying basically that this isn't something that we want to see here. I tried my contacts at MassDOT too, to no avail, but, you know, again, I agree with the point and the sentiment, so I'm happy to, whatever you need on our end.
Yeah, so what they are proposing now, this brand new idea that they have. Are you familiar with that pedestrian traffic light across from Merrimack College?
The hawk signal that kind of does the wig-wag?
Yeah.
That's what they want to do as your emergency preemption signal. Well, that's what MassDOT is requiring us to do that at this point. That's probably a better way to say it.
And what's the reason that they have?
That's a
their
good
new-
question.
So that's their new policy, because they don't want to have signals that just stay green all the time. The concept is that when, you know, they turn red, folks don't stop for them. That's the concept, or the justification.
Supposed to do more? Is that what they?
Well, it does turn red, and then it flashes red, and then it goes yellow. So that's what it does, but, yeah. I
And if you travel that way every day, say Merrimack College, you know what it's doing, but if you don't,
Right.
you really don't know what it means.
Right. It's more confusing than anything else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When you add something else, make something different,
Yep.
then, it takes a long time to
Yeah.
catch on.
Yeah, we received a response from the district, the head of District 4, so basically saying it's a no-go, but, you know, we can look.
So they had said that we didn't meet the threshold based on a population of less than 10,000 people. I have the letter
Yeah, that's
here.
what he said, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so, which I find ironic because you'd have to wonder how many of those cars that travel up and down 114 are residents versus people going from, let's say, Lawrence to Peabody.
Yeah.
So,
Really, one has nothing to do with the other.
yeah.
Exactly.
People that live in town and the people that drive on 114,
Yep,
apples and oranges.
yep.
So-
So next steps, what do we want to do? I mean, we have an application in right now to MassDOT. I mean, how do we want to handle it? What do you think, Brian? Any thoughts?
Well, get the,
I would agree. I mean, that's, when I drive by that thing in Merrimack, I think it's ridiculous every time I drive by.
yeah. Well, someone thinks it's a great idea. Reach out to the legislative delegation. And again, I had mentioned before, if there's an additional cost, the cost for the safety of these folks and the people that are traveling on 114 is paramount. So we do what we need to do. It's just, it's an absurd idea as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a cost difference, if memory serves. I mean, it's just the signal heads are the difference.
Right.
I mean, they still have to do the mast arms and all that stuff.
So I guess take the gloves off for this one.
Tell us
So
how
I
you
guess
feel.
the question I have is in this letter, it says, no traffic signal warrant analysis was provided in the 2019 Power Corp traffic study.
Yep.
The latest study MassDOT has on file for this project. So does there need to be another study?
Well, so the idea of the study would be to look at traffic exiting and entering, if that's going to be needed. So that would be more for the site rather than just for you folks. So realistically, you wouldn't do a traffic study for that. Yeah, I mean, because we're not doing it at the entrance to the site, and we had talked about that with folks back during the planning phases, right? So there definitely wasn't planned to be a signal there, so.
It doesn't factor in like the volume of calls that you have today.
Yep.
Doesn't, assuming that it's only going to increase from that. So how many times a day do you already go hit the light there in the square?
I mean, I get, you could also say that you're housing, besides the residents, we're also housing some state residents, right?
Yeah, well, housing their inmates. Exactly.
You know, I mean, that, obviously that affects your calls, and you see, based on the analysis that I did, the fire department sees 30% more calls than their average fire department of our community size. So, I mean, we can look to respond to all those, if you'd like, Chief. I mean, I can help out on the letter with that.
Yeah, and probably be better to work together on it, right? I mean, get both signatures on it.
And that's to the delegation, or to MassDOT, or to both? Because Frank, you had earlier talked about sending it to the delegation.
Well, I
just
mean,
wanted
they
to
should be
clear.
made aware of it.
MassDOT has already been asked, and they said,
They said no, yeah. I mean, I
your
think
next
that.
course
I
of
would-
action is you gotta go higher.
My suggestion would probably not be to go delegation first, considering we have some other dialogue going on with MassDOT regarding some ZBA-related things, and that we want some support for, so we gotta kind of find that balance, I think, right? So maybe, you know, Justin, I'm happy to work with you if we want to maybe chat on that.
Draft something up.
Yeah, we can draft something up, yeah.
Okay.
We'll start there, and then
Very
see
good.
if we can get some traction. Okay. Does that sound good? Anything else, folks? Anybody from the public want to speak? You're it. All right. Take a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Thanks, folks. Thank you. Great meeting. Thank you.